In the last year, Matthew Stafford went from being a perennial likable loser who put up great stats for 12 seasons to one of the most polarizing figures in American sports. His supporters have been boisterous throughout the latter stages of the 2021 NFL season, claiming that he is already a Hall of Famer. Stafford's detractors have also been coming out of the woodwork recently, asserting that he is criminally overrated. In this video, I'll be taking you through Matthew Stafford's career to determine if he is indeed one of the game's most elite quarterbacks or merely someone who stat-padded for a decade and lucked his way to a Super Bowl title. Matthew Stafford was seen as an incredible talent as early as in his high school years, being ranked as the number 1 QB in the 2006 high school recruiting class. Before starting a college game, Mel Kiper predicted that Stafford would be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. This prediction was correct as Stafford put up great numbers in his sophomore and junior seasons at Georgia. Unfortunately for Stafford, the Detroit Lions had the number 1 pick in the 2009 draft and had just completed the worst season in NFL history, going 0-16. The Lions were utterly bereft of talent, with no Pro Bowlers, and the only bright spot was young receiver Calvin Johnson, who led the league with 12 touchdown catches in 2008. Stafford was announced as the Week 1 starter for the Lions, and by most metrics did not have a great rookie season, which is common for quarterbacks drafted first overall because they go to horrible teams. Stafford finished the season with a 2-8 record in his 10 starts, with an abysmal completion percentage of 53%, just 13 touchdowns, and 20 interceptions. Surprisingly, Stafford's Week 11 performance against the Browns made the entire season. Down 24-3 in the first quarter, Stafford rallied the Lions back to only down 6 with less than 2 minutes to play. With 2 seconds left, Stafford threw a Hail Mary that was intercepted in the end zone. However, pass interference would grant the Lions an untimed down on the 1-yard line to win the game. The only problem was that Stafford was slammed to the ground after the throw and had separated his shoulder. However, against all odds, Stafford returned for the game's final play and threw a touchdown to Brandon Pettigrew to win the game. This 5-touchdown, 422 passing yard, all-inspiring performance from Stafford gave fans a glimpse of what could be the future in Detroit. Unfortunately, though, the world would have to wait another year to see Matthew Stafford in full because shoulder injuries derailed his 2010 season. Stafford only started 3 games for Detroit in 2010, and without him, the Lions could only manage a 6-10 year. Matthew Stafford's career truly took off in the 2011 season, where he and the Lions would reach the playoffs for the first time in 12 years. Stafford threw for over 5,000 yards, being the 4th quarterback in history ever to do so, and also racked up 41 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. Stafford quite literally put the Lions on his back in 2011 with 4 fourth-quarter comebacks. Stafford received the AP Comeback Player of the Year and was also named as a Pro Bowl alternate. Matthew Stafford's playoff debut started out great, despite the Lions being 10-point underdogs to the Saints in the Superdome. Stafford had 3 total touchdowns heading into the 4th quarter, with the Lions trailing 24-21. However, Stafford threw 2 costly interceptions, and the Detroit defense was non-existent in the 4th quarter as the Lions lost 45-28. After the 2011 season, the Matthew Stafford hype was at its apex. The next 2 seasons were a return to mediocrity for Detroit and Stafford. In 2012, Stafford had just 20 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, while the Lions finished 4-12. However, the circumstances that season were ridiculous. Stafford threw an NFL record 727 pass attempts, which does not bode well for any quarterback, as the Lions had no rushing attack and always found themselves trailing in the second half of games. Because of this garbage time play, Stafford was able to rack up nearly 5,000 passing yards, which was second in the league that year to Drew Brees. In the 2013 season, Stafford had a marginally better year with 29 touchdowns, 19 interceptions, and over 4,600 passing yards, which was good for 3rd in the league that year. Detroit was much more competitive in 2013 and held a 7-5 record, which meant first place in a pathetic NFC North division that year, in which the Bears were without Jay Cutler and the Packers were without Aaron Rodgers for most of the season due to injuries. However, the Lions lost their last 4 games, the last 3 by a combined 6 points, mostly to the fault of Matthew Stafford. In the 2014 season, the Lions brought in Jim Caldwell as head coach and had an instant improvement, with the defense finishing as the 2nd best in the league. The Lions relied less on Stafford, who had only 22 touchdowns and 12 picks with 4,200 yards, all down from 2013. However, Stafford was clutch when it mattered, leading Detroit to 5 fourth-quarter comebacks. The Lions were 11-4 heading into a Week 17 NFC North Championship game in Lambeau against the Packers. If the Lions won, they would secure a first-round bye and potentially the number 1 seed in the playoffs. With the game tied at 14 apiece in the third quarter, Stafford and the Lions' offense crumbled. Stafford had a lost fumble and an abysmal intentional grounding in the end zone, which resulted in a safety. The Lions would lose 30-20 and would have to settle for the 6th seed in the playoffs. In the wildcard round, the Lions held a 20-7 third quarter lead in Dallas, where it looked like Stafford was dominating. But Stafford and the Lions would never score again. I must point out that with 8 minutes left and a 3-point lead for Detroit, there was a controversial changed pass interference penalty on third down, which ended a Lions drive where they would have been in field goal range and could have sealed the game. But even so, Stafford and the Lions had a chance with 2 minutes left, needing a touchdown down 24-20. However, Stafford was strip-sacked at midfield, ending the Lions' season. You can't help but feel for Stafford and the Lions, as they certainly got screwed over by the refs this game and should have advanced. But they did have other chances throughout the game, and you can't deny that Tony Romo outplayed Stafford in the game's biggest moments. The Lions' 2015 season was a lost cause very early on, as the team started out 1-7. Stafford had an efficient season with 32 touchdowns and 13 interceptions with over 4,200 yards. The team held a mediocre 7-9 record, and Stafford put up elite numbers that no one respected because they did not lead to wins. A microcosm of the season, and more broadly Stafford's career in Detroit, was a Week 14 Thursday night contest against the Packers. Detroit was up 20-0 in the third quarter, and Stafford was having a typical performance of 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards. However, he and the Lions' offense could not put away the game, and Aaron Rodgers and the Packers took advantage and pulled off one of the greatest Hail Marys of all time to steal it from the Lions. In the 2016 season, Stafford had quite literally the clutchest quarterback regular season of all time. His 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 4,200 yards were normal for his career up to this point, but Stafford had an incredible 8 fourth quarter comebacks. This mark is the most of any quarterback of all time. The season had shades of 2014 with the chance for revenge against the Packers in a Week 17 NFC North title game, this time in Detroit. However, the game took the same result, with Aaron Rodgers outplaying Stafford, having 3 second-half touchdowns to Stafford's 1. The Lions would lose 31-24 and have to again settle for the 6th seed, meaning a matchup in Seattle against the Legion of Boom. Stafford and the Lions did not manage much in the first 3 quarters, but still had a chance in the fourth, only down 10-6. However, a couple 3-and-outs did them no good, as the Lions would go on to lose 26-6, where Stafford had a measly 205 yards and no touchdowns. This would mark the final time Stafford would reach the playoffs with the Lions, finishing 0-3 with 3 wildcard round losses, and each time he was thoroughly outplayed by the opposing quarterback. But you could also argue that in each of these playoff losses, Stafford had the inferior team. In the 2017 and 18 seasons, nothing notable happened to the Matt Patricia head coach Lions, as they missed the playoffs in both seasons where Stafford had decent stats, but ultimately nothing to show for it. The 2019 season looked incredibly promising for Stafford, as through the first 8 games, he was having perhaps one of the greatest statistical seasons for any quarterback, with 19 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions, and 2,500 yards, with a career-best passer rating of 106. But even then, the Lions were 3-4-1, and with Stafford missing the final half of the season with a back injury, Detroit lost their last 8 games. Fans were far too accustomed to seeing Stafford's classic 2020 season, where he had 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 4,000 yards, with 4 fourth-quarter comebacks. And oh, by the way, the Lions finished 5-11. No one knew what to make of Stafford's 12 years in Detroit, where he put up great stats every year but was never talked about due to the Lions never winning a playoff game and never winning their division. In 2021, Stafford was traded to the Rams, and it was set to be a referendum on his entire career. Stafford's career would be vindicated if he had success with the Rams and won the Super Bowl, but conversely, he would have no excuses if they lost with a loaded roster. The season was dubbed as Super Bowl or Bust, which didn't make much sense to me, as it seems that about 10 teams say the same thing every season, so many are bound for disappointment. However, a definite goal for Stafford would be winning a playoff game for the first time in his career. Stafford and the Rams got out to a hot start in 2021, knocking out the defending Super Bowl champion Bucs in Week 3, a game in which Stafford would outplay Tom Brady, throwing for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Rams started out 7-1, and Stafford had the second best MVP odds in the league. Many Stafford supporters in the media were already taking victory laps from this early success. But then, the Rams actually faced some stiff competition in nationally televised games where Stafford would look terrible. On Sunday Night Football in Week 9, Matt Stafford had 2 ugly back-to-back interceptions which gave the Titans 2 easy touchdowns and a big halftime lead. The next week on Monday Night Football, Stafford had 2 first-quarter interceptions to Jimmy Ward, one of which being a pick six. The Rams would lose 31-10 to the Niners, and in back-to-back weeks in primetime, Stafford was outplayed by Ryan Tannehill and Jimmy Garoppolo. After a bye week, Stafford would face old foe Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Again, Rodgers would outplay Matthew Stafford, and if it weren't for a couple of garbage time scores, the Rams would have gotten blown out. This was also the 3rd consecutive week where Stafford threw a pick six, which led many to bring up the fact that Stafford has the most pick sixes since he entered the league in 2009 with 27. While the Rams would finish the season 12-5 and would win the NFC West, many called out Stafford for his league-leading 17 interceptions. Most people do not realize that Stafford's 2021 season was nearly identical to his elite 2011 campaign with the same 41 touchdowns, 1 more pick, and 200 less yards in 1 more game. In the wildcard round of the playoffs, Stafford was a game manager in a 34-11 win where the defense dominated the Cardinals. Stafford still had a surgical 80% completion percentage, 200 yards, and 3 total touchdowns. In the divisional round against Tom Brady and the Bucs, the Rams got out to a shocking 27-3 lead. Stafford was having an excellent game with over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns when chaos ensued. The always reliable Cooper Kupp fumbled, the center snapped the ball over Stafford's head, and Cam Akers fumbled for the 2nd time when all the team needed was a first down to ice the game. Still, Matthew Stafford was ice cold and delivered 2 dimes to Cooper Kupp to set up an easy game-winning field goal. In the NFC Championship game against the Niners, Stafford threw an early red zone interception but would throw a touchdown on the next drive to Cooper Kupp to give the Rams an early lead. The next few possessions, Stafford was unlucky with multiple Rams receivers dropping crucial passes to stall out potential scoring drives. Down 17-7 in the 4th quarter, Stafford needed to be clutch, and he was, leading the Rams to an easy touchdown drive. But then, with the score at 17-14, Stafford had the ball back, and on the first play, threw a horrible pass, but was bailed out by a horrific drop by safety Jaquiski Tartt. Stafford would lead the Rams down the field for 2 more field goals to seal a 2017 Rams victory. In the Super Bowl, all of the pressure was on Matt Stafford, and he delivered early on with 2 first-half touchdowns. Stafford then threw 2 interceptions, which let the Bengals take the lead. But then, finally, with around 6 minutes left in the 4th quarter, Stafford hit Cooper Kupp multiple times to get to the red zone. On the 1-yard line, he would hit Cooper Kupp for the game-winning touchdown. Although Stafford would not receive the Super Bowl MVP, he made the clutch plays down the stretch in a big-time moment, something he couldn't do in his most important games in Detroit. Now, with Stafford winning a Super Bowl title, he is one of only 4 active starting quarterbacks who led their teams to a ring. This list includes Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and of course, Matthew Stafford. Some have tried to say that Stafford's legacy and career accomplishments are better than that of Aaron Rodgers, but this is quite laughable given that Rodgers leads Stafford in nearly every statistic, not to mention that he has 4 MVPs to Stafford's 0. Stafford has never received an MVP vote in his career, not to mention the 4-12 record against Rodgers head-to-head. To me, this debate can only be entertained if Stafford wins at least 1 more ring. I think a far more reasonable debate to have is Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford. Even then, Stafford probably loses because he has started 24 more games and has only 31 more touchdowns but nearly double the interceptions. While Stafford has 12,000 more passing yards, his career passer rating is 10 points lower than Wilson's, not to mention the ridiculous disparity in winning percentage. The great debate in sports media right now is the following. Is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Famer? My answer, with all of the prior context in mind, not yet. There is no doubt that Matthew Stafford has obscene talent. The guy was a number 1 pick and consistently makes throws with an unbelievable arm angle, not to mention the fact that he engineered the no-look pass and was able to pull it off in the Super Bowl game-winning drive. However, he simply does not have the career accolades yet deserving of a Hall of Fame spot. That 2014 Pro Bowl selection was the only of Stafford's career, and he does not have an All-Pro selection. Even though he was on a perennially losing franchise for the first 12 years of his career, team wins are a massive criterion for Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and Stafford has a career record that is 9 games below 500, only reaching the playoffs 4 times. Also, as I said before, he has never sniffed an MVP vote in an era where QBs such as Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, and Matt Ryan have all won MVPs. Nevertheless, Stafford is only 34 and still has quality years left playing for a great team with an elite offensive head coach in Sean McVay. I believe that with another Super Bowl title or a few more elite statistical seasons down the line, Stafford can earn his spot in the Hall of Fame. With that being said, let me know in the comments what you think of Stafford's career. Should he be a Hall of Famer at this point? Do you think he's better than Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? Also, let me know what other quarterback you would like to see me do a career video on like this. I already did a Phillip Rivers one last year. And with that, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.